Hi, everybody. I'm a little late to the game this morning. Um, Welcome to another art session this morning. I'm going to give you all just a few minutes to start joining. Today is going to be a little bit of a different session. I did a session yesterday where we did a bit of a floral. Let me grab it for you so you can see. We made this together last night. And during that live, we had some questions about making leaves. And I thought it might be a good idea to do a demonstration on the different types of leaves that you can make for your artwork. And I had demonstrated on here we go. I had demonstrated on this right here and thought that today we could do some things where we are going over the various leaves that you can make for the different types of floral arrangements or botanicals that you make. Daisy Everbright, thanks for being here. Good morning. Catherine Fowler, thanks for being here. Andy Chick, thank you so much for joining. Good morning. I'm going to give you all just a couple of minutes. Nancy Kane, thank you for joining. Miss A.G. New or Agnew, thanks for joining. Kelly Walker, thank you for joining. I also just realized, good morning, Carolyn Blount. I just realized this morning that I could actually bring some guests on who might have questions or might have requests where you don't have to show your face. You can just talk. So I thought it might be interesting to also bring on some people who might be interested in asking questions live. So we might do some of that today as well. But before we get started, I would love to know where in the world you are joining me from. I am in Northeast Florida, and I see some familiar names here. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining. Claire, thank you for joining. Sharon B., thank you for joining. Good morning to you all. I would also love it if you would share this live with your following to let them know that we are live today. I will also let you know if you are just joining that today we are going to be doing a demonstration on different types of leaves that you can create for your botanical watercolor illustrations. We did this one last night and we had some people asking some questions about different types of leaves that you can make. And that led into kind of showing this little side area of leaves. So I thought, you know what, let's get on and talk about different ways that we can make leaves. So I'm giving everybody just a couple of minutes to join. Be sure to like this video and share this live with your following. And we'll get started in just a moment. Also be sure to leave a comment where you are joining from in the world. I am in Northeast Florida and would love to know where you are joining from. We're going to be using, Alyssa says she is in Colorado. Welcome from Colorado. Is it chilly there? We are having some beautiful spring weather. It is breezy and about 73 degrees here in Florida. I know I have a friend that has a yak farm in Colorado Springs, and I believe they had a big snow last week. I could be wrong, but I know I saw recently they had some snow. Sounds like it can be a little, it swings back and forth quite a bit there this time of year. Let's see here. Graham Patty, thank you for joining. Frankie, thank you for joining. Alyssa says, it's so warm here. We have had an extended fall. Any snow we get doesn't stay at all. Well, that's disappointing. Frankie says, sunny Southern California. Welcome from sunny Southern California. It is very sunny here today, too. It would be a perfect pool day. I spent some time with my sister-in-law this morning. For those of you that joined me last night, I typically try to go live on weekday mornings around 8:40 or so, and I couldn't this morning because I wanted to spend some time with her because she just had a death in her family, and she was planning to spend some time at the pool this afternoon just to kind of have some quiet, get some sunshine, clear her head a bit, that sort of thing. So anyways, all right. So again, I just want to encourage you to share this live with your following so we can share this with everyone. I hope that you all are ready to get started. And today we are doing botanical leaves. And I'm going to show you a few different brushes that you can use to create leaves with. You do not need to run out and buy these brushes. Use what you have. But I am going to show you a few different kinds. And let's get started here. So these are the brushes I'm going to be using today to show you the different types of leaves that you can make. I apologize for my dog barking in the background. This is a dagger brush, and this is a dagger brush. This is my absolute favorite right here. This is my Princeton Neptune 3/8 dagger brush. It is so versatile. It can be a little frustrating to people who are just starting to use it because it is very flimsy, as you can see. But I think that's what is the beauty of this particular brush. This is also a dagger brush. This is a 3/8 dagger brush by Master's Touch. I got it at Hobby Lobby, but as you can see, it's a bit shorter. This is a Master's Touch pointed oval wash brush. This is also from Hobby Lobby. This one is a Princeton Heritage round number 8. You can really use any size. I just happen to always go for my number 8 because it's easy. I have this Princeton Neptune 3/4. I think it's like a pointed mop brush situation. And then I have a Princeton Neptune number 10, which is also a mop brush as well. So I'm going to get started with the number 8 because I feel like this is probably something most people would have if they are doing watercolors. So I'm going to start by just getting the brush wet. And last night when we were doing our live, we talked about how pigmentation works with watercolor. And so if you want something that is pastel, you would dilute the pigment more. And so we were working specifically with this color. This is called Opera Pink. It is a Daniel Smith watercolor. And I'm going to show you on this paper here. Let me just move this over to start on this side. If you were to just use this color regularly, you can see just how bright that is. But if you were to dilute it and use it lightly, you could get a very nice soft pink. Now I know that may be hard to see because of the glare, so let me just bring this a little closer. There you go. Hopefully you can see that there. So for the purposes of this live video, what I'm going to do is use a dark pigmentation because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And I'm going to be using a dark green, specifically Perylene green, but I did want to mention this particular type of pigmentation so that if any of you who had joined last night, you would be able to see that and just kind of reiterate what we were doing last night. So we're just going to take some of this Perylene green. And again, you can use any size round brush. It doesn't have to be a number 8. And what I want to do is bring you in a little bit closer. I was actually able to find a way to AirPlay my phone to my laptop, which is right there in front of me, so that I can watch the comments and such while I am live, much easier, so I don't always have to hit this part on accident. So let us start with some stems. So to make a stem, you want to hold the brush to where the tip of the brush comes to the very point. You're just very light and you drag it like this. Now it can take some getting used to just being very light on the tip of that brush. And then usually I like to pull out just a little bit of another stem like this to start a leaf. Now the leaf here that we're going to do is going to involve the belly of the brush, which is this midsection right here. And so what I do is I start by putting the tip of the brush right where I want the leaf to start. And then I push down to the belly of the brush and I drag out just a little bit and then pull up to the tip of the brush like that. And then I do the same thing on the other side. I start back here, push down with the belly of the brush, drag it out, and then pull up and to a point. And so that would be that. This is a very, very basic leaf. There are so many different ways to do this, but I'm going to just show you that one. Now, I'm going to come up on this side and sort of do the same thing, but I want to give the leaf a little bit of movement. So what I'm going to do is the same concept, but I'm going to give it just a little bit of wiggle room. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is belly of the brush, but kind of downward angle like that. Now you can leave this like this, or you can bring it up again and then just bring it down and around. I don't know if you actually saw that because my hand might have been in the way. Let me try that again, but I'll turn my paper so you can see it. I'm going to bring in some more of that Perylene green, and let's do it right here. So again, we're going to just bring this here, and I'm going to start by putting the tip of the brush there, pressing down so that the belly of the brush is creating the thickness, and then just kind of bringing it down and around. Do you see that? And then just lightly bringing back up to the tip like this. I'm a little shaky from my coffee. I apologize. And then again, you can do the same thing here to widen it like that. And then I can come back over here, and I might have one smaller leaf just kind of coming up off here. And then again, belly of the brush. And you could even just leave it like that instead of doing two. And that's totally fine. So there's that. Oh, did somebody just send a gift? Somebody just sent me a gift. Oh my goodness. That is so sweet. I wish I could read your name. It just says, it shows your name or your profile picture, and it says sent a gift. So whoever that is, I want to say thank you so much. Leave a comment if that was you. Oh wait, it says the hand that sewed. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. You're amazing. I so appreciate you. That's incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I would love to bring you on if you're willing to join me live. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. If you have any questions, or if you would like to chat with me for a few minutes, I'd love to bring you on live. For those of you that are just now joining, I am just doing demonstrations of different types of leaves that you can create. Let's see here. Number 2, Ashley Ryan, thank you so much for sending a rose. I appreciate that so much. And I'm going to extend you the same invitation. If you would like to join me live, you don't have to show your face or anything. I would love to bring you on if you have any questions, or you want to chat about anything. If there's something you would like me to demonstrate that is involved with this sort of thing, I'd love to do that. The hand that sewed said, thank you so much, but I'm not able to right now. Totally fine. If there's something that you would like to see in the future, shoot me a DM or comment on any of my videos, and I would be happy to do something for you. Thank you so much for your roses. It means the world to me. Okay, so to finish out this right here, I'm just going to take a little bit more of that and I'm going to show you one more. And again, thank you so much for your support, everyone. It is so kind of you. I very much appreciate it. So thank you. And if you have sent a gift and I missed it, I am so sorry if I missed it. I will definitely check the comments afterwards and we'll shoot you a message to say thank you. And of course, if I missed it, feel free to let me know in the comments and I will do my best to read the comments as we go so that I can thank you publicly. Alyssa, thank you so much for your rose as well. I really appreciate that. And I would like to extend you the same invitation. If you would like to come on live and ask me any questions or request anything particular as it relates to doing foliage, I would be happy to do that. Alyssa says, you're so welcome. I have. I know it can be so hard to type sometimes. I'm totally the same way. Oh no, you have laryngitis. I get that too sometimes. Actually, every time I get a cold, I get it. And this time of year down here in Florida, the pollen is so bad. And I feel like I just can't get ahead with my very nasally sounding voice and very froggy sounding voice. So good times. All right, so the last one that I'm going to do right here is going to be just another one like this. And then, of course, again, I'm going to start on the tip there, press down with the belly of the brush, and then just bring it down and around. And I'm going to add just a little sharp edge there. And I like leaving a little bit of white space right there. Okay. So now that you can see how this kind of ties together here, what I want to do is show you different leaves specifically. And again, I'm just going to be using this brush for now. This is just a number 8 round brush. And this is probably the most versatile brush you can use. You don't need to buy this specific brush and it doesn't need to be a number 8. You can buy any size or just use any brush you have. So there are a couple different ways you can create different types of foliage. So one way is to create kind of a more, I call them fat, but I don't mean that in a negative way, but we're going to call him a little fat boy. And it's going to go down and around and then back in like this. And then we're going to go down and around, kind of similar to a eucalyptus almost. And then I like to, again, give it just a little bit of a sharp edge like that. So there's one type of leaf. Another type of leaf actually is a eucalyptus, where again, I start with a little bit of a stem. And this one's a little easier because what you can do is just make kind of an oval circle-ish like this. You just want it to have irregular edges. Let me see if I can adjust my light so that it doesn't reflect quite so much on that water. That way you can see it better. Hopefully that's better for you all. All right, there we go. The next one I'm going to do is like a long, thin leaf. And so this one's going to just kind of come up like this and gradually get a little bit thicker. You're not going to use the full belly of the brush, but you are going to use some of it. And then as you begin to get towards the end, you'll just work your way back up to the tip of the brush like this. Quick question for those of you that are watching. I would love it if you could leave a comment letting me know if you would prefer it if I zoomed in a little bit on this. Would you like to see this closer up, or is it more helpful to see it zoomed out a bit? Let's see. Let me know if you would like me to zoom in. You like it zoomed out, Alyssa. Okay. Yeah, I tend to like it zoomed out a bit too. but I know everybody learns a bit differently. So I just want to make sure that this works for everybody who's watching. Okay. All right. So we'll leave it that way. Okay. So then the next one that I'm going to do is a little bit more of an abstract. Let's see, Grace says, well, maybe a little of both, but I do like it zoomed out. Great. Okay, so how about I do some more that are a little zoomed out, and then I'll zoom in a little bit, and then I'll zoom out again. So this one's more of an abstract leaf. And so what I'm going to do is start with just a little bit of a stem there, and then I'm going to push down. I'm not going to use the full belly of the brush, but I'm going to kind of wiggle it like this, and then come up onto the tip of the brush again and just leave it like that. And what I really love about all of these different leaf types, let me move this over a little so you can all see it. What I really love about these different leaf types is that there really is no one way to make a leaf, and no matter what, they all look really good. And you can use any of them in any type of work that you're doing. The next one, which I would say is probably the easiest one to do, seriously, the easiest one to do, I'm going to just get a little bit more pigment on my brush, is to take your brush, put just the tip on the paper, and then push down with the entirety of the tip to the belly and even to the end, and then just lift up. And that's it. And let me show you what this looks like in context. If I were to say make just a curved line like this, then I could start up here and go down like this. Super simple. Super duper simple. All right, so the next one that we can do with this brush is actually going to be also kind of simple, but not as easy as just kind of stamping it. This is going to be just kind of outlining like this and filling it in just a hair. Super easy. Now, I know some people would be interested in doing something more like a maple leaf sort of thing. I will admit I am not the greatest with maple leaves, but I'm going to show you a maple leaf anyway. So I like to think of maple leaves as being somewhat triangular in each section, in that you start kind of at the top like that, and then they come out like this. And so I'm just going to kind of fill that in like this. And then it's going to be the same out here. And then the same right here. One may have been a little too far away from the rest of it. So then we're just going to kind of fill in. We'll just do this like that. Again, I know it's not the greatest. And then here, we're going to kind of just fill in to what would be the stem. And there you have a simple little maple leaf. Again, not the greatest with the maple leaves, but at least you get the idea. All right, we're getting to the end of this part of the paper. So I'm going to do another one. And this one is more of like what I would imagine would be like a, not fronds, but kind of like a beachy, like what you would see as like beach grass almost. So this one's very simple. You're going to be using just the tip of the brush, and you're going to just come up like this. And you can use a little extra pressure to get these varied lines, but you want to curve them a little bit. And that's pretty much it for that one. So very, very simple. So I'm going to go back to this side. And I'm going to show you all of these. And now what I'm going to do is bring this in a little bit. Let me see, I can zoom. So that way some of you who would prefer the up close can see some of these up close. I won't redo all of them, but I think I want to show you this one and a couple of the other ones up close just because these are probably the ones you'll most likely start with. So for this one, for example, I'll rotate my paper a little. Again, you're going to start with just a little bit of a stem there. And then again, you're going to go tip to belly to tip. So take this, tip to belly to tip, tip to belly to tip. And I'm just going to kind of bring this down and around to get that shape looking more like how I want it. I'm going to try to lift this fuzz out. There we go. We can do it again to try to get a little bit more tipped to belly to tip, tip to belly to tip. There we go. Hopefully that is a good close-up. And then let's do these two as well, this one and this one. So again, this one is super easy. Let me try to get my hand in a way that's not going to get in all of this. So this one, we're going tip to just the bottom of the belly and then back to the tip. So we're going to start by just dragging on the tip and then slowly adding pressure. And then as we start to get to the end, we're going to go back up to the tip. Sorry, that one's not great. I'm trying to not put my hand in this wetness here. And then for this one here, which is a bit of a squiggle, we're going to just use the tip of the brush to add this little stem here. And then we're going to push down to just the tip of the brush here and squiggle just a little bit and then come back up to the tip. So again, it's going to be push down, squiggle back and forth just a little bit, and then back up to the tip. There we go. Okay. Were there any other of these that you wanted to see up close before I move on to the next part of the video where I show you some of the other leaves with the other brushes? I'll give you all just a minute to comment on that. And if you are just joining, I would love it if you would let me know where you are joining from in the world. I am in Northeast Florida. And I would also love it if you would share this live with your following. Chosen by Energe and KSH 1950, welcome. And from Nevada, USA, how is the weather out there? Is it hot and dry, or is it pleasant this time of year? And then for your listening displeasure, Salt Lake City, beautiful out there. I have a friend that's actually going to be moving from Utah back to Jacksonville, where I live, in about a month. It's pleasant. Excellent. New York City. Excellent. I love the mountains. Yes. Yeah, so for your listing displeasure, my friend that's moving back to Florida, she works for Miller Knoll, the interior design firm, and she is someone who works with IIDA Intermountain. And I actually did their website a few years ago, and just the imagery of Salt Lake City made me fall in love with it, even though I've never been there, but it's just beautiful. Suzanne, hello. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, oh, someday I want to visit. But that day is not today or anytime soon because I have 4 kids and travel is kind of not going to happen for a while. Let's see here. It is really pretty here. Southern Utah is gorgeous too. Yeah, that's where all the orange, I don't even know what you call it, but all the orange is. Let's see here. Viviana, thank you for joining. Why not? Thank you for joining. Jay, thank you for joining. Arches National Park. That's the one I couldn't remember the name of. Yes. Amazing. Zola, thank you for joining. Holly, thank you for joining. All right. So let's go ahead and start moving on to the next one. I'm going to show you my favorite brush because this is just, it's my favorite. This is the Princeton Neptune 3/8 dagger brush. This is something that I find a lot of people complain about because they get frustrated with it. And I understand that, but the reason why I love it so much is because it doesn't have a lot of stiffness to it. It's very flexible, as you can see. And with that flexibility, especially as an abstract artist, I tend to find the things that it does can be unpredictable and in the best way. So let me show you what I mean. When I want it to be predictable, it's usually because I'm going to be using it with foliage. And if I'm doing some sort of abstract where I don't want it to be predictable, I'm typically taking it like this and dropping it onto the paper like this. And then when it comes up, I have these beautiful marks that I can then take and then turn into some sort of floral like this. And that's sort of like the center of the floral. And I'm just kind of showing you what that would look like that. But let's see here. My problem with learning watercolors has been overworking whatever I'm painting. Any advice? Yes, overwork it, because the more you overwork it, the more you learn when to stop. And I know that's not great advice sounding, but the repetition is where you learn your muscle memory. And sometimes it's best to leave it alone, then come back and look at it. Because sometimes I'll think that something is already looking overworked, and then I come back to it and I love it and I leave it alone. But yes, a lot of people, I think, get what I would call stage fright when it comes to their paper. They don't want to put anything down because they're afraid of ruining it. And my approach to watercolor is very much ruin it, because I would rather ruin it and know that I learned something from it than to not do it and end up not liking what I did and not learning from it. So my recommendation is always just ruin it. Always overwork it. It's kind of like that Taylor Swift song, Ruin the Friendship, ruin the painting, because it's better to know than to ask questions your whole life. So yes, eventually you'll learn what works and what doesn't, and you'll start to notice the boundary. And even then, there's plenty of times where I overwork it. And I started doing these lives a little over a week ago, and let me see if I have the painting that started it all. I thought I had it right here. Maybe I don't have it right here. I'll have to find it, but the very first one I did, I ended up overdoing. It's ugly. I think some of you liked it, but I don't like it, and I overdid it, and that's okay, because that is what it is. Yes, good. Love that. Okay, good. That's kind of what I've been doing. Yeah. And someday you will make a piece that is perfection. So yes, keep doing that. All right. So going back to this brush. Again, I'm going to load up the brush, and this is the magic of this brush. Look at that beautiful thin line you can make with it so easily with just the tip. And then this is my favorite part. If we pull out from that, one of these little guys, then we can easily just pull out a little leaf, which is gorgeous. And then if we wanted to, we could pull up a leaf from that. And again, I'm just taking the tip of the brush. The concept is very much the same. So you start on the tip, you push down with the belly, and you come up on the tip again. But the beauty with this brush is that you really can get so many different variations in the line work that you do, and that's why I love this brush so much. And if you start with the tip and then you push down and you really wiggle it around, you can get so many different variations. Now that one's not a great one, but you get the idea. And that was just holding it this way, straight up and down. If you curve it, then you get even wider ones. And so that would look like, let's say we start on the tip, we push down and kind of rotate as we're going, and then rotate back to just the tip, and you end up with something like this. Now this looks a little weird, so I might just take this and kind of fix it, but you get the idea, and it looks really nice. The other thing that I like about this is it makes it really easy to make this type of like beach grass. So if I wanted to take this and then do something like this, well, it makes it very easy and it looks really nice. And again, we're just going tip to belly to tip, tip to belly to tip. And I think a lot of people get frustrated with this because they don't really know how to use this type of brush in a way to get the results that they want. And so that's why I try to show this brush as much as I can when I am working with botanicals, because it's just a really beautiful brush. All right, so that's that brush and that's that foliage. And then the next one I want to show you is the oval mop brushes that come to a point. These are essentially the same. One holds more water and is larger than the other, but the technique is the same for both of them. So I'm just going to show you this one because this is the less expensive one. This is from Hobby Lobby. I never pay full retail at Hobby Lobby, so I want to say this was maybe a $3 or $4 brush. And again, I'm going to go back in with that Paraline green. Move my paper over. This one's really nice because you can use it a couple of different ways. You can use it straight up and down like this, or you can turn it to the side like this and make a wider one. So let me just show you at first. Again, we're going to start at the tip, push down, and then come back up with the tip. And you have a nice piece of foliage there. And then if we wanted to, we can start at the tip, rotate a little bit, and then back to the tip again. And you have another nice piece of foliage. It's just a nice sharp piece of foliage. And then if we wanted to do this, we could, it's a little off-centered, as you can see. So I'm just going to kind of brush it on my palette to get it back to the center. Then you can start on the tip here, push down, and there's that. And then you can turn it around and do that. And if it's a little off, you can just fill it in like this. And then there's that. You could add a little stem to it like that. And there you have a leaf. Again, very, very simple. And I know that this can be frustrating for a lot of people who are just starting with watercolor. So I'm trying to show you some of the easiest things you can do with leaves so that you can get used to being comfortable with it. So hopefully this is helpful for you. Another thing that you can do with this one is start at the tip where it's nice and sharp, pull down and around like this, and then back to the tip, and then the same thing, but to this side, and you get a nice wide leaf. And then I'm going to turn it so that it's straight up and down like this, and then bring it to a bit of a point, and then you can bring like the little stem off like this. There you go. All right. So that's this brush. Hopefully you liked that one. Then the last one that I have to show you is just this mop brush. It is a Princeton Neptune number 10. And the reason I wanted to show you this brush is just because it is really fluffy and it holds a lot of water. And I wanted to show you what that looks like when you are making leaves. So again, I'm going to go into that perylene green. And let me move this up a bit so you can see it. And I'm going to start here. Again, the process is the same. It's always tip of the brush to the belly of the brush and back to the tip of the brush. So I'm going to start with the tip, push down with the belly, and then back. Now I probably need a little bit more water on there, so let me try that again. We're going to go tip of the brush, belly of the brush, and then back. Let me get some more pigment on there and some more water. Tip of the brush, belly of the brush, tip of the brush. And again, this one is one that you can do the same two-sided with. You can make it wider or less wide, kind of up to you. And you could even make this a little, have a little bit more movement in it by really accentuating the side. And then this one, really accentuating that side. And then maybe having just a little tip off the end there. So just a lot of different things and different ways you can use these brushes. Belle says, what is that shape of brush called? I think it's just a round brush. Yeah, it's just a round brush. And like I said, these brushes, the Princeton brushes, I've said this on a lot of my videos. And so you'll hear me say it in probably most of my videos because I get asked about brushes a lot. I am a Princeton girl through and through. However, I have been watercoloring since 2014, and all of the things that I have been collecting for 12 years. These were not things that I went out and purchased, you know, like I had all the money in the world. And so you do not need to go out and spend the money on these. This is probably like a $10 brush. So it's not super expensive, but if you're getting into watercolor, you don't need to go out and spend $10 on a single brush. You can buy a brush set off Amazon. It's not going to be the greatest, but it'll do the job. And that's totally fine. And you can go to Hobby Lobby and spend $3 or $4 on a brush like this, and that's fine too. One person asks, what color are you using? I am using Perylene Green by Daniel Smith. And again, I'm going to give you the disclaimer. I have been collecting these since 2018, I think, with the Daniel Smith colors. Here we go. Looks like this. But you do not have to buy Daniel Smith. I know Daniel Smith is expensive. I was even looking on Amazon yesterday because I'm starting to put together, I'm putting together my website so that I can post these as replays and include the supply list. And the supply list will include affiliate links to Amazon Associates, where I do get affiliate commission if you buy through my link. And I was looking at the prices of these, and these have even gone up since I've purchased them. And some of my purchases go back to 2018. But as you can see, these have lasted me. I've had these, some of these are as old as 8 years old, and they have lasted me 8 years. And these are professional grade watercolors, and I have done professional watercolor commissions. And so that's important to me. I've also noticed the ones that I bought in the beginning that were supposedly cheap watercolors at the time are now apparently very expensive. This is the Winsor & Newton palette that I bought way back in the day. And I've taken some of the colors out and put them in various other palettes, this being one of them. But this one is apparently expensive now, but at the time it wasn't. I think it was maybe $30 or $40 for all of those colors. But I say all this because I don't want to be discouraging. I want you to find what works for you. You don't need to go out and buy expensive stuff. I would just use what you have and just play with what you have. And because user 3713 and all those other numbers, here's the other little bit of my stash that I have. Here's one of the ones from the Winsor & Newton palette. But these are some palettes that I bought from Artistic Isle Watercolor, or pans, I should say. Some of these were off of Etsy. Just a lot that I've collected over the years, and they really just last. Let's see here. Belle says, I started following some tutorials with a Crayola watercolor set, then upgraded later. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what you want to do. And hey, you know what? You can buy those Crayola sets for like $1 at the dollar store, and they do just as good of a job. Another thing that you can do is you can find not alcohol inks, although you could use alcohol inks too. But like these India inks, I'm pretty sure you can find for super cheap, not this brand, but super cheap. And you can use these in place of it, in place of watercolor. Just mix a drop of this in with a little bit of water on the side, and you've got watercolor. Let's see here. Belle says, I now have a small Winsor & Newton watercolor set that I bought for like $20. Yeah, you know what? Let me see if I still have mine. Yep, I do. This was my very first watercolor set. I've since moved some things around. Some of these are the ones that were in this big palette, but this was the first one I got just to see if I would stick with doing watercolors. Is it? That's amazing. Yeah, I think it was like $20 when I bought it back in 2014. And, you know, it had the pertinence in it, and it came with that teeny tiny little brush in there. And that was good enough for the time, you know. Let me show you how tiny this brush is. And I'll even show you how you can make some leaves with it. Let's make some leaves. We'll even use this guy right here. Add a little bit more water. We can, again, use the tip of the brush. And then tip, belly, tip. We'll pull out a little one here. Tip, belly, tip. Tip, belly, tip. And if we wanted to get a little extra fancy, we could add a little blue to some of this, just to make it a little multi-dimensional. There we go. So really just start. That's what it comes down to. Just start. Amazon has some Winsor & Newton sets for just over $20. Perfect. Winsor & Newton is a wonderful brand. Okay, that was a really weird looking one right there. That's okay. You get the idea. I'm trying to watch the comments and paint this at the same time. There we go. Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. If you just put stuff down on, let me read what Belle said. Wow, that's awesome how it changes with just a little difference in how you hold the brush. And it's true. And that's the thing. If you just start, you just put something on paper, just try it. Then eventually you'll get to knowing your brushes and what they're capable of and what you can do with each and every one of them. And it makes a huge difference when you go to approach things, because you develop that muscle memory and that confidence, and it makes you feel really good about things. There are other brushes you could also use that are different. Like, for example, this one. This is a 3/8 Princeton Select angular shader brush. If I wanted to, I could use this to make leaves. Now, I wouldn't because I don't, but if I wanted to, I could start here, come out like this, and then bring it to a point, and I might even fill that in so it's straight, And then come at it from the other side here. Do the same thing. Looks bad. Let me see if I can bring this in here. Kind of fill that in. And then I might take some extra water and just connect so that we have a little bit of differentiation down the center there. And yeah, or let me grab a little bit more. You could just take it, oops, and again do the tip here, belly, tip. Not too shabby. But again, not my first choice for this. So, all right, let me see if I have any other funky brushes that I could potentially use. I think the only other one that I have that's a weird shape would be this flat brush, but I think he's a little crunchy from when I used him last with some Mod Podge in another video I did last week. That's okay. We'll get him loosened up a little bit. Get some of that perylene green on there and see what we can do. Let's try. We're going to hold him at an angle like this. And then again, tip, belly, and then tip. Oof, that one's rough. Let's try maybe making a little bit more of a abstract leaf. Make it a little wider. There, good enough. Belle says, gotta go. Thank you. I'm going to try and make leaves next time I paint. You go, girl. I'm excited for you. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for joining and commenting. And I hope you have a great day as well. Thank you. All right, everybody. I think that this is a good stopping point, and I would like to open it up for questions. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something, I would love it if you would leave me a like or a comment. And if you find it in your heart to send me some roses, I would love it. It helps me continue to make content like this for you. And anyone who leaves a rose for me, I would love to bring you online. Officer Nikki, thank you so much for the rose. I really appreciate it. If you would like to come online and ask any questions, you don't have to show your face, but I'd love to add you and chat with you. If you want to see something, I would love to bring you on and either do a demonstration based on what you have or any question you have or anything. Let's see here. Alyssa says, it was fantastic. I can't wait to see the next one. Have a great day. Thank you, Alyssa. I really appreciate you joining. And Officer Nikki says, just watching and learning. Sounds great. I really appreciate the rose. Thank you so much. And anybody else have any questions they want to ask before I sign off for the day? Awesome. Well, you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I thank you so much for being here. I'm working on my website now. I should have it ready later this week, which will include links to these as replays and a supply list. And I will see you all tomorrow. I should be on around 8:40 a.m. So I'll see you then. Thanks again.